Yeah, not too bad. All good.
Good to see you.
I know, likewise.
So yeah, these sort of interviewing of biomechanics coaches are creating quite a bit of interest, and the idea is that we get to talk about our connection is biomechanics coaching. We'll go through. I'll get you to introduce yourself, and then how maybe somebody watching this who may be thinking of becoming a biomechanics coach, or maybe a potential client for you might be thinking, what is it that Gerard do? So is it all right? I'll just take you through some questions if that's all right. We'll shoot from the hip.
Yeah, let's do it.
Maybe tell anybody watching this who you are, what you do, how do you describe yourself professionally?
Well, my name is Gerard Rooney. So I've been personal training about 11 years, 12 years. I think my first kind of interest in the body intrinsically came from, I done a kinesiotaping course. And that was where kind of my love for injuries and rehab kind of came into it. I did think about going down the physio route, but I tried to kind of, without having to go to uni and then give up, kind of. So at the time I looked at the physio course, was in the process of getting the house and stuff, so I couldn't really afford to, leave work and whatnot. So I just kind of tried to look at different options and avenues to give me something similar with regards to knowledge, as to what I would learn on a physiotherapy course, because I gathered a lot of injury and kind of rehab clients, just from kind of success stories that I've had over the years. So, and of course I've competed in, in mixed martial arts, football, karate, all pretty high level. So, yeah, kind of with regards to the biomechanics, that whenever I've seen it, I tend to go off course sometimes as well, Race. So just
I'll pull you back in.
Yeah, just reel me in sometimes. So with regards to the biomechanics course, I've seen it first, and before I invest in any kind of course, I always look at them very, very thoroughly to ensure that it's going to give me what I want and that I'm actually going to learn from it. So I looked at I went to the taster, the workshop that you'd ran, and I think after that I was kind of hooked. Just generally from the level of knowledge that you had and what you were delivering.
What interests you? Because I don't like working with the injured. I find the problems that arise from that, the added problems in terms of contraindications and so on. For you have a special interest in working with that demographic. You're going to still be limited, obviously, because you don't have a clinical degree. So what is it you enjoy about that particular demographic? We classify them as the injured or the rehab, post-rehab maybe might be the best way to describe, yeah?
I think that I feel I get more of a buy-in from them with regards to your average kind of person coming through the door wants to lose a few pounds. They're very easy to go off track. If someone's life is inhibited and they're going to do whatever they need to do to get back to normality, I find that they're a lot more dedicated and determined. And it allows me, because I'm very, very, I like to pick at things, and I'm very thorough. So I strip everything down, and I'm a deep thinker as well. When clients are talking to me, I'm taking in what they're saying, but I'm completely thinking about, something else. And so yeah, I think I enjoy working with the injured because you're feeling I'm helping them more.
Yeah, when they're getting
something out of it.
Yeah, when they do the homework. And I think you're right. I think people who have a problem, like a pain, are probably more driven for a solution rather than people who want a bigger biceps or, maybe lose a little bit of weight. And that's not everybody, but generally, I think I would maybe agree with that to a certain level. How are you getting on with lockdown? Are you online? Have you been working online?
Yeah, I've recently just launched kind of my online program at the moment. So I'm just trying to get that up and going, get people enrolled and stuff. But yeah, I've invested heavily into that. So I have, just to be able to ensure that I can provide clients, because I never really wanted to go down the online route before. Because I don't like prescribing someone an exercise without me watching over them.
Yep.
I've never done it. People have asked me for it in the past about online programs, and I'm like, I give someone a deadlift to do, and they go in and blow their back out. It's coming back on me. So I've never been keen to do that, but circumstances change, and you just kind of have to adapt with it. So, yeah, I've just recently launched an online program and just getting people enrolled at the moment.
Brilliant. And I think you're right. I think we've got to. I agree. I was, from my perspective in the education side, teaching people a practical skill. I was like, it's not going online. It's not going online. And then under the current circumstances, you're trying to stay afloat and also that duty of care of trying to still help people, sort of me through people like yourself, and then through you to the end user. And I think we have a role and a responsibility to continue to help in whatever way we can. I think it's just that different way of looking at it. And as I'm sure you have already, all the protocols in place to be as safe as we can. And how do you think this is going to affect the health and fitness industry long term? Like if we were going to go a year, 2 years from now, do you think the whole industry, that's it, the landscape's changed, or how do you feel about it?
I think personal training is going to change a lot. If this works for people, if people shifting their emphasis to online, if this works for people and they're making money and they're not physically having to be in a specific location and restricted to a location, if it works, I could see gyms kind of being affected. The health and fitness industry, it'll always be there regardless. It'll always be there. It'll always be booming. It's different fads will come in and different interests and stuff like that. But I think with regards to the actual trainer aspect, I think it's going to shift. I can see it shifting, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing. I think it enables us to help more people, and it enables personal trainers to either have a multifaceted approach to how they deliver what they do, or to focus on a medium that is preferable to them. And exactly right. I think you've now got another option rather than potentially getting charged a huge amount of rent, for using a space because, you feel you don't want to do it online, or, you've got these different options. So no, I totally agree. Do you think, because I've just been looking at, I don't know if you are involved with SIMSPA, so the Chartered Institute for the Management of Sport and Physical Activity, who are now the standards, they're leading the standards of the industry in the mainland here. I think they will be over in Belfast, certainly. I know they're talking to Lee at Platinum Training Institute, but they've just designed 2 documents to be analysed and reviewed about our legal duty of care, safeguarding, good practice, policies and guidance for online personal training and Group X, so participation and activity. So I totally agree. If the actual associations that are designing standards are creating these policies, then I totally agree. And I think for people like you and I, long term in the industry, maybe a keener eye to watching a client moving, that may be slightly easier. So I wonder about the education of teaching a coach how to coach online. I think that side might be an interesting kind of aspect to it. What about Group X? What do you think about the groups? You mentioned personal training. Do you teach Group X?
Like small groups?
Mm-hmm.
No, I wouldn't be. I mean, at the very maximum, it probably maybe 2-3 people maximum, if even. I feel that I can't give what I would like to give if it was too many people.
Yeah.
I still want to deliver the quality service that I'm being paid for. So if that means, because I know a lot of small studios are opening up. A lot of PTs have left gyms and opened up small studios, and they're making a killing from small group classes, which is great and from a business perspective. But for me, the reason I've never opened my own place is because I would have to do something big. I couldn't do a studio because I like variety of equipment and, functionality, whereas most studios you're kind of limited to, racks and free weights, which is fine, but it's just not for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Your perspective is that they're killing it. I think for a PT, an individual to open up a facility, I just can't. Just a nightmare, because you become a manager, a marketer, an accountant for something that then has so much more costs and overheads and things to worry about and manage. So it's interesting that you have a different view on that. You think of it as they're killing it, and whereas I think why would they want to do that? That's such a struggle. I imagine it would be much easier to just go to a gym and rent it, and then you walk away if it doesn't work. Whereas if you've had a facility, so I'm agreeing with you, but maybe from a different angle.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I get it. I mean, I think a lot of because some of the gym rents are like £600, £600 per month over here, and sometimes like equipment breaks, you're having to wait a couple of weeks, maybe a month to get it fixed and stuff. So I think what I mean by when they're killing is obviously they're making money from it. They're charging what they can charge because it's a small group. People buy into it. The marketing's right and the pricing's right. People think they're getting a great deal, but from a business perspective, they're making revenue and they're making money. But yeah, it brings, having your own studio, that brings a ton of pressure. Yeah.
But at the same time, I think there's space for all of us, because there are different clients and customers out there who prefer different environments. There's customers that you will have that prefer to go to your chain gym facility because they like the spa area. There's others who prefer the box down the road because it's a bit sweaty and there's that community feel. Then there's the guy who just wants one-to-one attention in the park. So I do believe there's room for all the different platforms and mediums for delivery, and more so now online. But in all of that, I think the challenge is in communication of what we do, how they're different. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you, which I'm asking all the guys, is what do you feel personally for you is common misconceptions around biomechanics, posture, maybe let's just go with personal trainers. So maybe your peers, so other personal trainers that you've come across, misconceptions around biomechanics as a science, the intrinsic biomechanics you've learned, posture, and all that kind of subject area, because it gets grouped together, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that people just aren't aware of what it actually is. I think the general perception is when you say biomechanics, it's bones and skeleton and how it moves and that. But there's obviously so much more, especially with the intrinsic side of things. But yeah, I think it's one of those. It's skewed almost because people just aren't aware of what it actually means and what it entails.
Yeah. Do you have conversations with colleagues about when they say, what do you do as a biomechanics coach?
Yeah.
What do you say and what do they ask you?
I mean, when I'm trying to talk to them, the industry is the way the industry is. Some people take constructive criticism well. Some people take advice well. Some people are just like, over their head type scenario. But when I'm explaining stuff, I get into it. I'm invested when I'm getting into it and I'm saying it because I'm saying it with passion and because I believe in what I'm saying. So when I'm explaining something to another coach as to, for example, why they should be squatting, barefoot, or, why you should be substituting a heel wedge for a squat and just look at their mobility so that they can actually squat without relying on the heel wedge because of ankle mobility and so on. So when I try and explain that to them, it's just, they're just like a deer in headlights. Sometimes they just don't get it, or they just choose not to get it because maybe egos are hurt. But yeah, I think just generally they just don't get it. No matter how, I always try and put it in layman's terms.
Yeah.
Everyone. I can be scientific and I can say, all the fancy words and whatnot, but it's not going to benefit who I'm talking to. So I always try and, my target audience, who I'm talking to, I always try and keep it to their kind of level whenever I am explaining.
But do you think that there's a lot of, maybe there are some personal trainers, and maybe because they're new and they're haven't been as exposed to new ideas. If you go back to your early training and you come out of it thinking, yeah, I'm a personal trainer, and you realise how little you know, only over time and working with people. Do you think they're so focused on the quick fix idea still? As a PT, we just put a wedge in and they can squat. Why would I not do that? Do you know what I mean? Do you think from that perspective? Because we've been at that point where you don't realise you don't know what you don't know, right? And so it's kind of having an appreciation for that. And when like people like you and I, we could talk this stuff all day, and it is really complex, but obviously what we like to do is simplify it. I think sometimes maybe it's understanding that we've got to almost put it to the same level as we speak to a client. But I think sometimes clients just want the quick fix. PTs think, well, I'll give them the quick fix because I need to make some money because they don't earn a lot of money. And so, we get that, right?
Yeah, I think also, though, it's down to the PTs. I mean, sure, I could go in and because of my demographic and my previous clients, I could easily go in and give them a quick fix. But I think it's down to the PT to say, right, this is why we're not giving a quick fix. Sometimes it's okay to give that quick fix. Yeah. For example, if you're limited with time, you just want to get in, get it done. But that's down to the PT to say, right, you need to come in 10 minutes earlier. You got to do your warm up so we're ready to go, and we don't have to stop, start, and do your kind of your activation drills and a bit of mobility. So I think it's down to the trainer to probably be more prepared and be switched in with regards to how they're delivering their session and delivering their exercise. I mean, right, we're just going to use a wedge, but not tell them why we're going to use a wedge.
Yeah.
It's whereas.
Sorry, I was just going to say, how do you think? So, with that in mind, thinking about your journey as a personal trainer, specifically the Biomechanics Coaching diploma, how do you think that has helped you as a coach specifically? That the diploma that you did with us.
It's probably kind of made me a more precise than I was with regards to movements and what I'm looking out for, and when I see something, why it's happening.
Yeah.
And when I look at it and I see it's happening, what I need to do to fix it or try and strengthen it, correct it, whatever it may be. A lot of kind of tendencies, for example, I have a couple of female clients with femoral anteversion. Yourself, you've got as well.
Yeah.
So, we kind of specific cues that when they're coming in for example, they come in at the start and I do my normal screen, just to see what I'm looking out for, what's potentially going to hinder us in their program and our exercising. That when I see these things, I already know, what I need to implement and what's going to work and what's not going to work for that person. So, yeah, I think that's what it's made me a lot more detailed, if that's the right word.
Yeah, or it's the organisation, isn't it, of having a system to follow, I guess. Have you got, without divulging any personal information, have you got a case study that stand out for you in using those skills? Is there anything that you like? Is there a person you remember and you're like, an example of how you maybe helped them with your biomechanics coaching skills?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's of an older lady, and her 65, 66, came to me post chemo. Frozen shoulder, her hips were pretty banged up because she's been at a desk she's been at her desk job well over 30 years, still doing it. So giving me a lot of kind of issues, and as also a result of the medication stuff she's taken were affecting her joints. And so, I mean, gradually over time, when we were including different exercises, anti-spasm techniques, when I was really stripping things back instead of just getting her in, because she came to me just to be able to move.
Yeah.
So stripping things back help get more range of motion in her shoulder, which is absolutely fine now. She's able, I mean, putting on her coat was a struggle, or say, or her range of motion in her shoulder would probably have been, I would say, maybe 50-60%.
Yeah.
50 degrees, which wasn't great, which was really bad. Now she's full rotation, able to put both arms up her back and do that we kind of test and whatnot. So she sees those wee kind of improvements. And then when we included strengthening exercises and kind of core work, another benefit that she realized without knowing it was she was able to carry her grandkids up the stairs without having to lean against the wall for support. So that wee small thing was, strengthening the legs, the hips, which were pretty bad, looking at the core, getting some strength through the upper body as well. And also when she's praying, she's getting up and down off one knee instead of using assistance to do that. She's able to get up and down every now and again. I have to check her sometimes because when she's getting up off the ground, she would maybe put her hand on her knee. So I just kind of have that hand off the knee, and she just kind of uses the strength in her legs to do that.
And it's often the small things that bring us joy, obviously them joy, but even us, when you think about personal training and all the skills you gain, and then you go on and, like you and I, you learn more skills and you layer it on, and then it's something simple like they come back and say, I've carried my grandkids up the stairs, and you're like, oh, it's, I mean, ultimately that's the joy of it, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you read? Are you reading books? Are you on Audible or real books? What do you read?
I'm doing Audibles at the moment, which I quite enjoy. I only discovered them about a month or two ago, which was great. Yeah, I know.
Changed my world totally. And while I do love a book, actually sitting and reading one, I'm not dyslexic, but I have issues with reading a lot of text for long periods of time. So Audible is a game changer. So, okay, top 3 favourite books in Audible, right? Have you listened to more than 3 in a month?
I have, yeah. Well, I've probably only actually only 4 I'm on.
Oh, then what 4 have you got on your Audible list?
First one was Aunt Middleton from SAS Who Dares Win. That was a fantastic one. That was a great read. So it was. It's more realistic when it's actually being delivered by the person in question.
Yeah.
So that was a great kind of experience, and hearing his life stories was, I could relate to a lot he was saying, and he kind of thinks a lot like me as well, which was interesting. It was good to see. You always think you're kind of the only person out there, don't you? So that was the first one. Kevin Hart, his book, The Comedian, American Comedian, fantastic. It's delivered by him, and
I'm gonna write that one down.
It's like listening to stand-up. It's really? It's phenomenal. So good. The other one was one of the other guys from SAS Who Dares Wins, Jason
is one. I'll have a look. Yeah. I fancy listening to the Aunt Middleton one. Some other people have spoken about that one. Never thought of listening to a comedian, but Kevin Hart. I'll have a look at that one. And what was your fourth one?
I got Alan Carr, the comedian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't listened to that one yet.
So reading for you or listening to an audio is more about time out than, and while I appreciate you, I'm sure you're still learning, but rather than you're listening to business guidance or, technical stuff, for you, reading is a time out zone, is it?
At the moment, yeah. Because things have just been crazy. I'm back in college, almost finishing my teaching qualifications so that I can deliver courses. So I've got my micro teach. I had actually a meeting with my teacher yesterday, just to give a general idea as to how I'm going to deliver a class. So that is July, I think. So I have to start preparing for that, get that teach going. Then I've enrolled in the assessor's course after that. So then obviously I'll transition over into that. So I've been doing coursework. I'm still running my kind of 9 to 5 with the digital marketing company, and then doing the online PTing as well. So pretty crazy, yeah. I think to the audiobooks are just really to zone out.
Don't blame you. So anybody who's watching this who might see you and think, so if you say where you are in the world, over in Belfast, so what area maybe, also how people can find you, so website, social media, do you want to just run through those? So where are you in Belfast? Is there an area specific?
Yeah, I'm in Belfast city centre, or the west of Belfast. Get me on Facebook, which is Gerard Rooney, or GR Fitness.
Yeah.
Or Instagram as well, which is GR_fitness_. Currently working out of Gymco, which is in city centre, just on the outskirts of the city centre. That's the only social media handles I'm on at the moment. Yeah.
And your website would be?
Website is gr.fitness.
Fantastic, nice and easy to remember.
That's it. Yeah, it was an expensive one.
I bet it was with that.
2 letters.
Dear. So I'm hoping to get back over to Belfast when we let out from lockdown. It'd be great if it was the end of the year so we can catch up then. If not, certainly the early part of next year. But really appreciate you doing this interview. Thanks so much. Good luck with all your online stuff, and I'm sure we'll catch each other very soon. So
yeah, absolutely. No worries, Rich. Take care.
Take care.